Good morning. I've realised actually that what I'm doing is very, very complementary to Nell's story, and I'm kind of just giving a label to one part of what you described, which is what I call my superpower. Not a typical superpower, not something that you'll find in a Marvel or a DC comic. In fact, many people think of it more as a weakness, sort of kryptonite, rather than a power or a strength, but it's vulnerability. So, what is the meaning of vulnerability? It means basically being weak or exposed, open to harm or attack. And if I ask you now to think of something vulnerable, you're probably going to think of an animal, a small animal, a puppy or a baby, something that is unable to defend itself, that needs protection, something that's weak. And if I ask you, when or how do you feel vulnerable? This is where I'm echoing much of Nell's experiences. Your answer is likely to be when I feel like I don't fit in, when I think I might be judged or criticised, when I have no self-confidence, if I don't feel smart enough or pretty enough or sporty enough, when I feel left out, when I feel I am not worthy, or when I feel shame. So I'm here today to tell you to embrace this vulnerability, acknowledge your weaknesses, accept them, and be comfortable with who you are. This will give you confidence, this will make you feel good, it will make you feel like you belong. So let's think about when you're comfortable being vulnerable. Vulnerability is key to creating trust and friendships. So you think of someone that you're close to, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, and think of the honest conversations that you have with them. You are prepared to show your weaknesses with this person. I find, I'm going to use some examples for kids, I find science really difficult. I'm not good at football and I wish I was. I want to talk to this person I really like, but I don't dare do it. I hate my hair or my braces. This is being vulnerable. And why do you share these personal thoughts with this person? Because you trust them. Because you feel confident that they're not going to turn around and make fun of you, and they're not going to criticize you. They might give you some advice that you might not want if this confidant happens to be your parent. But if the conversation goes well, and it usually does, you will end up feeling better, feeling that you have value, feeling that you belong, just as you said that Mr. Rogers makes you feel. This is possibly why you had the conversation in the first place. But of course, conversations when we're being honest don't always go well. There's nothing that makes you feel more vulnerable than sharing your feelings, and you feel vulnerable because of that fear of rejection. You say I love you and they don't say it back. And now you're going to say, how on earth is that situation meant to make me feel good? Well, it doesn't make you feel good. But this is where vulnerability as a strength comes in. When you can be vulnerable, when you can be authentic, when you can be your true self, you will have courage and resilience to be able to deal with this sort of rejection. You'll have that sense of worth. It's horrible to be rejected. No one feels good about it. In fact, it can make you feel downright miserable, and I would bet every person in this room has gone through that emotion at some point. But when you can be honest with yourself, when you can be comfortable with vulnerability, with humility, you will only grow in strength and be able to deal with everything that life throws at you, which is why I call it a superpower. And by the way, growing up does not make you any less vulnerable. And I'm going to share a story. 2 years ago, when I was president in Disneyland Paris, it was our 25th anniversary. And the president of France at the time, President Hollande, came to visit with his entourage, with uniform and gilt and feathers. And we walked into a room together of 1,000 people. It was enormous. And there was a scaffolding bank at the back with the world's media. I know it's the world's after, is what I saw, but I mean, there was Finnish TV there. I stood up first and went on the stage to give my speech, and I'll illustrate. So I walked up and I took my first step, and I suddenly felt myself crouching down, and I couldn't understand why. So I took a second step, and then I was truly stuck, like a frog, on stage. In fact, with my back to the world's media, and my heels had gone through the lace in my skirt and had pinned me like tent pegs to the stage. And there are 1,000 people in the room and the world's media, and there was this collective gasp behind me. I think the President of France leapt up, and one of his, I saw feathers came up as well. And I did think for a moment, should I just fall down and pretend to die? Carry me out, and I won't be able to look at it. But I didn't. I stood up, No, I didn't actually, I couldn't stand up. I sat down and took my shoes off and walked barefoot to the lectern, and it felt like I was walking a mile. It's probably only about the distance of this room. And if you Google, there is a picture of me somewhere in the social media holding my shoes, walking towards this lectern. I got to the lectern, I put my shoes back on, and I turned to the President of France and said, and there was I worried that something might go wrong. And I then gave my speech, and there was applause and there was laughter. And my point for sharing this story with you, apart from the fact that it was quite funny at the time, was it could have been a very, very different experience. If I had felt ashamed, I wouldn't have been able to recover. If I hadn't laughed at it, they wouldn't have laughed with me. If I had been embarrassed, everyone would have been embarrassed for me. And I think there were possibly 4 people in the room who didn't share that, who were deeply embarrassed, which is my husband and 3 sons, who were dying and were pretending that they were nothing to do with, not connected to me at all. But it wasn't seen as a failure, it was seen as a great success. The Disneyland Paris cast members still call me Cinderella. And I credit this 100% with the fact that I am totally okay with being vulnerable. So my last few words are just little bites of advice. Have the courage to be honest with yourself and about yourself. Be authentic. Be who you really are. And most importantly, be okay with who you are. If you like yourself, with all your imperfections, others will like you right back. Thank you.